I mean, flat out, it pisses me off because my uncle was nothing but giving and nice.
Okay.
And for them to try to change the narrative, and it's basically a 4-hour hit piece. And the media has done, in my opinion, a disservice by just allowing only negative things to come out. Because there's been so much positive stuff on our side that shows these guys aren't the truth.
Tito Jackson is gone. Just days after paying tribute to his late brother Michael, he passed away suddenly, and now his son TJ is breaking his silence. And what he's revealing, it's not just emotional, it's chilling. TJ is peeling back layers about what really happened to Michael Jackson, what Tito confessed to him in private, and why the entire family's been forced to stay silent for years. But it doesn't stop there. TJ's also speaking up about the secret advice Michael gave him before his death, why Catherine Jackson quietly handed over guardianship of Michael's kids, and how documentaries like Leaving Neverland have completely twisted his uncle's legacy. This video is about more than just a death. It's about a legacy being torn apart and a son stepping up to protect his family's truth. So stay locked in, because by the end you'll hear exactly what Tito told TJ about Michael's death, and why some fans now believe Michael didn't just die from a medical accident. TJ Jackson, the son of Tito Jackson, the late guitarist of the Jackson 5 and nephew to the King of Pop. But in his own words, growing up Jackson wasn't some wild dream, it was a daily struggle to live in someone else's shadow. In one of his most emotional interviews, TJ opened up about something that's haunted him for years, his uncle Michael's last warning. "Don't dance," Michael told him backstage one day. "Don't do it." It wasn't just about dancing, it was a metaphor. Michael was drained, overwhelmed, and exhausted from the pressure to be perfect. If he didn't give 110% every time, people were disappointed in him. Michael was a perfectionist. He didn't want us chasing something that could destroy his fame. Michael wasn't just battling insomnia or stress. He was battling the expectation to be superhuman. That pressure? It's part of what TJ believes eventually killed his uncle. What my dad said about Michael's death will haunt me forever. TJ didn't want to talk about it at first. But after his father Tito passed away, something changed. Our hidden insiders revealed that at a private family gathering, TJ broke down and revealed what his father had told him just months before dying. TJ stopped short of naming names. But y'all, the message was loud and clear. Tito believed Michael Jackson was set up emotionally, financially, and maybe even physically. We all remember that tragic day, June 25, 2009. Michael Jackson, just 50, found unresponsive in his LA home. But what you might not know is what his personal doctor, Conrad Murray, later revealed during the trial. According to court transcripts, Michael's final word was milk. That's what he called propofol, the surgical anesthetic he used like a sleeping pill. Murray claimed Michael self-administered a fatal dose while he stepped out of the room. But prosecutors said otherwise. They made it clear Michael trusted Murray, and that trust is what killed him. And yet, TJ says the real story hasn't been told. He called the media out for swallowing the official story without asking the right questions. Why wasn't there more security? Why wasn't Michael being properly monitored? And why did the family say he looked bone-tired in the weeks leading up to his death? TJ ain't holding back. In multiple interviews, he slammed the Emmy-winning HBO special for pushing an agenda that, in his words, absolutely misrepresented his uncle.
Because there's been so much positive stuff on our side that shows these guys aren't the truth.
Okay.
But the media doesn't want to hear it. And that's who cheated on my cousin.
Oh!
Yeah, and no mention of the media. They don't want to talk about that.
He's not alone. Michael's estate sued HBO for $100 million, calling the documentary a posthumous character assassination. And according to TJ, Michael's real legacy is being destroyed by people who never even knew the man. When Michael died, his will named his mother, Catherine Jackson, as the legal guardian of Prince, Paris, and Blanket. But as she got older, that torch was passed on, and TJ became the sole guardian. It wasn't easy. He already had a full house, 4 kids of his own, 2 stepkids. Now he was parenting 9 children, including the most famous siblings on the planet. "I'm always in protection mode," he told Yahoo. "People want access to Michael's kids, but I treat them like my own. This wasn't some publicity stunt. TJ skipped red carpets and premieres. Instead, he did school drop-offs, parent-teacher conferences, bedtime routines. He became what Michael always hoped his kids would have, a real father figure. Tito's final visit to Michael's memorial, a sign before death. 4 days before Tito's sudden death, he visited a memorial in Munich dedicated to Michael Jackson. In his Instagram caption, he wrote, "Before our show in Munich, my brothers Jackie, Marlon, and I visited the beautiful memorial dedicated to our beloved brother, Michael Jackson." Now fans are pointing back to that post and asking, did Tito sense something? Was this his final goodbye to the brother he never stopped mourning? When TJ Jackson was accepted to Wharton Business School, most people thought he was set. But just months after the offer, TJ turned it down. He didn't announce it publicly. He didn't even tell his brothers. Instead, he told one person, Uncle Michael. Michael's response? Pure joy. He gave TJ parenting books. He shared tips. He said he wished he had started earlier. In that moment, Michael wasn't the king of pop. He was just a man excited about his nephew becoming a dad. And when TJ's son Royal was born, Michael celebrated like it was his own kid. He said he'd never been happier, TJ remembered. That bond, that private support, it meant everything. TJ remembered something strange about Michael's parenting. Back when they were young, Michael used to take the kids to Toys R Us after hours. He'd tell us to grab a cart and fill it up, TJ laughed. We once spent $25,000 in Japan. But when Michael had his own kids, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, things changed. Suddenly, he limited them to 3 toys max. Why? Because he didn't want them growing up like royalty. He wanted them grounded. And TJ copied that exact philosophy. It's important to me that the kids wait in line at Starbucks, TJ said. I don't want them thinking they're better than anyone else. And if y'all look at how private Paris and Blanket have been compared to most celebrity kids, that wasn't by accident. It was strategy. Before Tito passed away, he spoke candidly about Michael's downfall. In a sit-down with the Mirror, he said, "The world was not kind to Michael. I don't know why. It wasn't just the tabloid frenzy or the lawsuits. It was the way the industry worked him to the bone and then turned its back." Tito admitted something TJ would later echo. Michael was surrounded by users, people who wanted his name, his money, or his silence. When TJ was asked about the last time he saw his uncle, he said Michael looked exhausted. "We were at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and he'd been up all night reading. He looked sad. I asked him what was wrong. Michael had just read about a plane crash and was heartbroken about the kids who died. That's the kind of man he was, but behind the love was burnout. Tito saw it, TJ saw it, and they both believed Michael's heart was breaking long before it stopped beating. There was no one protecting him." TJ exposed that part of the tragedy was how isolated Michael had become. "He didn't trust people anymore," TJ said, "and that's what scared me the most." According to TJ, Michael was being forced to push himself through 50 shows at the O2 Arena in London while quietly battling chronic insomnia, addiction, and mental exhaustion. His inner circle, TJ said, was filled with yes men, and when Michael passed, the family didn't just lose an icon. They lost someone they felt they couldn't reach in time. If there's one thing that still haunts TJ, it's how people mocked Michael in his final years. The surgeries, the voice, the allegations, the sleep habits, all of it became tabloid gold. But none of it was the full story. He remembered how Michael would spend hours just talking about human suffering, from global hunger to local tragedies. He felt everything. That's why he stayed awake. That's why he couldn't sleep. And yet, even in death, TJ says people continue to push false narratives. These so-called documentaries, they win awards, but they destroy lives. That's why TJ created the Jacksons, Next Generation. He wanted to humanize Michael, to tell the world who he really was, a loving, generous, empathetic soul who died trying to give more than he could carry. Michael's real last words weren't about milk. They were about fear. We all heard what Dr. Conrad Murray claimed Michael said before his death, that he asked for milk, his nickname for propofol. But TJ says there's something far more disturbing that never made headlines. In an alleged private conversation just weeks before the tragedy, Michael had told TJ and his brothers, "I don't feel safe anymore. I feel like they're watching me." TJ never forgot those words, because Michael wasn't talking about fans or paparazzi. He was talking about the industry, the people around him, the system. And the most chilling part, Michael allegedly warned his family that if anything happened to him, it wouldn't be an accident. Tito's death location raised eyebrows immediately. Now let's talk about where Tito Jackson died. Gallup, New Mexico. This wasn't some Beverly Hills mansion. It was a stop on a low-key route, allegedly while he was traveling between Oklahoma and New Mexico. A witness flagged down a local officer at a strip mall saying Tito needed help. Within minutes, he was gone.
Police in Gallup say that Jackson suffered some kind of medical emergency yesterday evening and had to be taken to a local hospital where he later passed away.
But the timing? That's what had fans spinning. Just 4 days earlier, Tito had posted a tribute to Michael at his Munich memorial. Some are saying it felt like a final goodbye, like he knew something was coming. Coincidence? Maybe. But TJ says that whole week, his dad wasn't himself. He was quiet, emotional. Looking back, it felt like he was carrying something heavy. Paris was spiraling and TJ had to step in. After Michael passed, Paris Jackson became the face of his grieving children. But behind the smiles, TJ says she was barely hanging on. Years later, Paris would open up about attempting suicide, dealing with PTSD, and feeling like she was drowning in her father's legacy. TJ, as her guardian, had to become more than just Uncle TJ. He became her lifeline. At one point, TJ allegedly pulled her out of a toxic Hollywood party after getting a tip from a family friend. The media never picked up the story, but inside the Jackson circle, that night became a turning point. Michael wasn't just musical, he was spiritual. Most people think of Michael as a perfectionist, a dance genius, a vocal phenom, but TJ says his uncle's true power came from something deeper. He was obsessed with balance, peace, nature, energy. He didn't just read music books. He read spiritual texts, studied art, philosophy, even the occult. And that influence shows up in TJ's latest solo work, especially the EP Last Night. The track Insomnia wasn't just about losing sleep. It was about trying to find peace in a chaotic world. Michael once told him, "To create timeless music, you have to draw from everything. Your pain, your joy, your fears, your faith." And that's what TJ's doing now. Songs like Dream Girl and Obsession reflect that inner push to turn pain into beauty, just like Michael taught him. Let's go back to the Victory Tour. That tour was supposed to be Michael's solo breakout after Thriller. Instead, he stayed loyal, performed with his brothers, and shouldered the weight of the family. TJ says that moment defined who Michael was. He could have gone solo, could have left everyone behind, but he didn't. But behind the scenes, Michael was isolated, pressured, overworked. TJ recalls family conversations where Michael said he felt like a product, not a person, and in his final years, it only got worse. He once told us, "They don't care about my health, they care about my numbers." This is why TJ now speaks so strongly against exploitative documentaries and legacy erasers. Michael wasn't a monster, he was a man who gave everything, and they broke him. Since Tito's death, the Jackson family has stayed relatively quiet. A few Instagram tributes, some vague media responses, but no explosive interviews, no exposés. TJ says that silence is intentional and protective. TJ believes the music industry has always been complicit in both building and burying Michael's legacy. And now, after Tito's death, he's calling for truth and healing, whether that means unsealing documents, pushing back against smear campaigns, or funding independent investigations. TJ says the time for hiding is over. This ain't over, it's just beginning. In the wake of Tito's passing, TJ vowed to continue the work his father started, not just musically, but spiritually and legally. A tribute album is already in the works, and TJ hinted that some unreleased conversations might see the light of day. So yeah, this story isn't finished. And as the world marks 16 years since Michael's death, TJ is making sure his truth gets told raw, unfiltered, and undeniable. TJ's Private Project, a final tribute to Tito and Michael. Behind the scenes, TJ's been working on something deeply personal, a dual tribute project honoring both his father Tito and Uncle Michael. Sources close to the family say TJ is writing a full-length concept album, with songs inspired by handwritten letters, unreleased voice memos, and private conversations between the three men. One track reportedly includes a reworked version of a voicemail Tito left TJ shortly before his passing, layered over a soft lo-fi beat, with subtle nods to Jackson 5 chords and off-the-wall ad-libs. TJ never names names, but his interviews drop hints. When asked whether Michael's downfall was purely self-inflicted or orchestrated, TJ said this: "He didn't die alone, he died surrounded. That's the part that keeps me up at night." He pointed to Michael's contractual obligations, including the 50-show O2 residency, something TJ claims Michael never truly agreed to. According to reports, Michael initially wanted just 10 shows, but AEG expanded the contract under pressure. TJ also raised questions about Michael's finances. Despite record-breaking success, MJ died allegedly hundreds of millions in debt. Where did the money go? Who signed the checks? Fans suspect foul play, and TJ doesn't shut it down. Michael Jackson's grandkids are already carrying the torch. TJ's home is full of the next Jackson generation, and they're not just kids, they're artists, thinkers, and protectors. His own son, Royal, is rumored to be producing for indie R&B artists in LA, and Paris Jackson has been releasing moody alt-rock records while fiercely defending her dad's name online. Even TJ's youngest daughter has been learning piano, using old sheet music that once belonged to Michael. Because for TJ, this ain't about chasing charts or clout. It's about restoring a name one the media tried to erase. Tito's last public message wasn't a diss. It wasn't a conspiracy rant. It was simple. Please remember to do what our father always preached, and that is love one another. For TJ, those weren't just words. They were a directive. He says Tito spent the last few years of his life trying to heal the rifts in the Jackson family, between the older generation and the younger one, between public shame and private legacy. And now that Tito is gone, TJ says he feels an even deeper responsibility, not just to Michael's truth, but to the soul of the entire Jackson name. Michael's legacy isn't just music, it's resilience. In the end, TJ says the legacy isn't in the moonwalks or Grammys or YouTube views. It's in the resilience Michael showed every single day. The ability to love even when you're broken, to create art even when you're doubted, to raise children in truth even when the world throws dirt on your name. And y'all, after everything the Jacksons have endured, they're still here, still raising kids, still making music, still telling their side. So as the industry tries to push more twisted documentaries and scandal headlines, TJ's response is simple: we ain't done. So now you know the truth, or at least the closest we've come to it. Tito Jackson died carrying the weight of his brother's legacy, but TJ's picking up where he left off, through music, through parenting, through truth-telling, and maybe most importantly, through love. If this story touched you, if you feel like the world needs to hear what really happened to Michael Jackson, smash that like button and drop a comment below. What do you think Tito meant when he said they drained him dry? Hit subscribe and stay locked in.